Hello and welcome to another Feel at Home. I'm Dante.
And I'm Kurz.
From Lone Manor, this week we're going to guide you through the blossom-filled monastery of Hanamura.
The original home of Hanzo and Genji, Hanamura is simultaneously both ancient and modern. Restaurants and video game arcades sit nestled in between numerous cherry blossom trees and only an arrow shot away from ancient temple gardens. The picturesque city is not entirely as innocent as it first appears. Hanamura is the historic home of the Shimada clan, a criminal empire involved in the dealings of arms, illegal substances, and the carrying out of hired assassinations. Despite the best efforts of Overwatch, the clan endures to this day and continues to operate behind the quiet streets.
As a double point capture map, Hanamura is one of the shortest maps in the game. As such, the choke points start off early with the main gates funneling the attacking team into an open core area, providing plenty of advantage to the defenders who are able to spread out. Landbound characters are forced through the main gates, approximately as wide as Reinhardt's shield, while vertical characters can utilise a raised window on the left. Directly across this courtyard is Point A, housing a bell with relatively large entrances on all four walls.
All of these act as additional choke points, but are significantly less effective. The left choke leads back around to the left side of the main entrance, the right side branches off into several paths around the courtyard or towards Point B. The rear entrance is less of a choke and is often more of a liability to the defending team.
Point B is much the same, with the main entrance acting as a strong choke as it leads into a bridged area onto the point. However, the other entrances act more as flanks than chokes, so we'll go into those later. From this choke, the attackers can duck down to the right onto the lower area surrounding the platform, which provides more cover. The left side is similar to the main entrance, but has less distance to the point once through, allowing attackers to push onto static defense much easier.
As usual, let's start off with the sentry turrets. Due to the large size of the main choke, it's often best to use them to shut down the upper window. Symmetra is an amazing solution to lock this down, or at the very least slow anyone using it down, giving the defenders time to relax. Place the turrets across the wall and below the ledge. This keeps them out of sight and safer from AoE damage. Only a very lucky Junkrat grenade will hit them here. The most common alternative is to nest up the little room next to the choke, as many characters rely on this to duck into cover. With a nest, they will regret that decision very quickly, unless they're able to blast all the turrets in one go. To prevent this as much as possible, the sentry turret should, as pretty much always with Symmetra, be kept spaced out using a combination of the ceiling and the door frame to provide cover.
Falling back to Point A, the options are generally less effective due to how open the area is and due to having more variety in entrances. While you can dot them around here, a great alternative is to nest up with a teleporter next to the point by the walkway, providing the point plenty of protection from flanking heroes, allowing your team a quick way back. Directly opposite the point are a pair of walls that can provide a tight choke and cover for sentry turrets, nullifying any ground flanks to the side. Beware of Farah taking them out though. Point B can be very challenging to sentry up effectively due to the fact every entrance can be seen from another, allowing the enemy team to pick off most nests at a safe distance. The few exceptions to this include at the bottom of the staircase from the raised platform to prevent the enemy circling behind you, in one of the entrances to the narrow upper corridors, or sneakily in either of the two medpack rooms. As usual with Point B defences, it may be better to swap off Symmetra though.
Now on to Torbjorn and Bastion. Back at Point A, the defenders have a wide open courtyard which acts as a defensive concave. With sentry turrets covering the common flanking paths, the main gate should be the focus. This raised ledge has a good vantage of both entrances, in addition to the side walkway, but you'll be very susceptible to Farah rockets. A safer alternative is to the side, which covers the courtyard, but not the choke point directly. This makes traversing the courtyard treacherous for attackers, while acting as cover fire for retreating friendly defenders. The ledge above can be used for the same effect, but it's a little less impactful due to the decreased vision. Another effective use of Bastion is right in the front entrance, protected by Reinhardt. Yes, we know it's a dirty strategy, but it works. Under this relative safety, Bastion has free reign over both entrances. If the flanks are covered, this can be a hard position to push quickly for an attacking team, especially if they're light on flankers. Coordination and timing is the key to breaking the sustained fire, as cover provides little protection to most.
The road to Point B has a few more interesting locations that can take attackers by surprise while maintaining room to drop back. Starting off with one of the most forward. A turret on top of the main ledge overlooking the point from the attacker's side is a common place to stick one on the way back. This helps cover the top flanks, and for a team rushing to the point, they will have a much harder time reacting. Alternatively, the upper platform to the right from the attacker's perspective overlooks the point and the large entrance to the left. These can both be effective but need protecting to survive sustained fire. An often forgotten position is on the pillars surrounding the room. A Bastion can jump onto one of these near the bridge and take attackers off guard. The high damage will shred all but the most prepared. It's best not to stay here long though, as any reasonable team will change tactics to counter the position. This is where the fallback positions come into play. Behind the point is a raised ledge perfect for covering chokes while keeping some protection. These are the most common locations for a reason, but as ever, try not to stay stationary for too long.
Hanamura isn't one of the largest maps, with the distance between points relatively low. However, due to the location of the chokes and the overall layout, the sniper characters can be surprisingly effective for both the defensive and offensive sides. Starting off as always with point A, the defender's perspective. First off, the point is surrounded by an upper balcony, providing plenty of vantage points for the all-important choke and upper window, as well as being large enough to keep your position unpredictable. As an alternative, the Medkit building next to this provides a similar vantage, but it's slightly more protected. You are pretty obvious to counter-sniping here though, as you won't be able to move around as much. You can also take a more ground-based approach and keep on the move at the back of the point, using the bell and the lattice wall for cover. You'll naturally have less overall vision here, but you should stay alive longer and give added protection to the rear flanks.
For attacking snipers, there tend to only be one or two options. The room directly above and behind the choke, or the ground beneath it. They offer similar fields of view and should allow you to pick off a lot of static defences. The choice comes down to whether you want to be more obvious on your own, but therefore more vulnerable to counter-sniping, that's the top room, or less obvious but vulnerable to splash damage off your teammates, the floor. I'd recommend varying it up depending on what the defensive composition is. Point B, especially for the defensive sniper, is markedly different to point A. Rather than 2 entrances to watch, you have over half a dozen, so awareness is going to be key. Tunnel visioning a single entrance is likely to get you killed. You're still quite limited in terms of where to stand, generally bouncing between the corridor behind the point and the shrine roof above it. The third option is on the isolated raised platform. And while safer, you're limited to covering the opposite platform, the lower medpack room, and if you're feeling lucky you can get a very awkward firing angle on the main bridge.
For the attacking sniper on B, the main aim is usually to clear out the static defences and disrupt the defenders from getting too comfortable. From the courtyard you can see pretty much the entirety of the corridor behind the point, which should put some serious pressure on enemy bastions and tourbillons. If your team is pushing onto the point and you need to support them, consider climbing or grappling up through one of the windows to offer some very potent cover fire. If you get to the point where you're actively aiming into the enemy spawn, then you've pretty much sealed victory.
As always, Symmetra is incredibly useful for a defending team early on, but her uses dwindle as the fight moves to point B. As such, most of her prime teleporter locations involve point A. Starting from the left side, we already have some good options. The medkit room directly off the courtyard is a well covered area, perfect for setting up a nest. However, it is opposite a key flanking point, so can be easily discovered and destroyed. If you've chosen not to, or have been forced back from turreting up the forward chokes, this can be a great way to catch a flanker. The other likely place is on the far side past the room overlooking the cliff. There is another medpack here, but it's far enough from the main area that it's often harder to spot, as most will walk right past it, due to the room above. However, if it is discovered, there is little you can do to defend it.
From the left, we move to the back side of the point. Here is a medkit, and below this a doorway which acts as a very fast way to return to the point. This is generally easier to spot than other locations and only has a limited ability to nest up safely, but as a reward for your bravery, your teammates can exit straight onto the point and provide instant reinforcements. On the right of the point there's a doorway with yet another medpack which acts as another easily defensible position, with the option to nest up the room itself or the stairs approaching it. Out of all the options at point A, this is possibly the most balanced, with decent safety without being too far from the point. As we retreat to point B, our options become much slimmer, but if you insist on sticking with Symmetra, and I probably wouldn't recommend it, there are some still worthwhile locations for us to explore. As with all point Bs, the run back is extremely short, so instead we'll want to focus on positional advantage. The most common is on the upper right ledge. The corner can be used to hide the teleporter, giving position to snipers and turret builders, or even just a quick way to flank attackers. Due to attackers needing to funnel through a doorway, sentry turrets can deal a lot of damage to anyone advancing on this position, though as mentioned earlier, don't leave them in the open. The only other positions are further out on the flanks, but should only ever be used in a fully coordinated 6-man team. If you use them with randoms, you'll likely find your Reinhardt has teleported out to the back end of nowhere just as he was needed on the point.
Hanamura has many side paths that we have already touched on, but now we're going to take a look at these in more detail from the attacker's perspective. These paths start off early with walkways overhead as the attackers leave spawn. These aren't of much use in terms of advancing forwards, but they are often used by defending flankers or as temporary perches for offensive snipers. The first proper flank comes with the obvious window and gaps above the main entrance. As ever, pretty much all vertical movement characters can access these easily. This window is often heavily guarded with turrets, so either clear them out or send someone that can absorb the hits first. For sentry turrets, Winston is generally a good choice for this due to his lightning cannon. For torp turrets, try D.Va.
Once through this window, there are several additional paths to take, depending on the characters being played and the composition of the team. To the far left is a path leading down to the outer cliff, a relatively safe path that includes a med pack and is rarely guarded. It takes you to a set of stairs leading up to the left flank of the point. A more direct path is to cut through the building ahead of you. This is much quicker and provides immediate cover, but you should expect sentry turrets on this route. There's also the option to just land in the courtyard, either on the ledge or below. If there is need to pick off a deployed turret, sniper, or even a healer, this can be a good way to create an opening through the main choke for those less mobile. One of our personal favourite options is to actually fly directly over the building in one swift move. D.Va is especially good at this. The advantage of this being extra protection from turrets, you're not likely to see any sentry turrets make their way up here. In addition to being the fastest way to the left entrance, it's also very easy to reach the small path that wraps around the point, which can give you the jump on defensive snipers or teleporters. At worst, you'll force some of the enemy team to divert attention from the main choke.
Moving to the right side, the doorway here opens up other possibilities, but in a much more confined space, so expect this to be heavily defended. Flanking characters without the ability to traverse the walls will have this as their main route around the choke. The narrow hallway leads to an initial exit opposite a staircase leading to an upper room and walkway. The walkway is open for the most part, so it's not the stealthiest path, but it is a reliable way to get to the point. Defensive positions will often be taken here, which will either work to your advantage or end horribly, so be ready to back off or jump down to take cover if you're running into a meat grinder. We'll get onto the other options this opens up in a minute, but first let's assume you can get across the walkway. From here, the entire right side of the point is open, along with anyone attempting to use it as cover. Carrying on from the drop down we mentioned earlier, which can also be accessed from the initial right side door, heading through the archway you gain access to the back entrance used by the defenders. From here you can loop around the other side of the walkway, behind an unsuspecting Bastion or sniper. Or, if there are no decent targets, the back of the point is wide open. Use this if the traditional flanks aren't working to open up an opportunity for the rest of the team.
Once point A is dealt with, we move on to point B, and again let's start with the left. This large gap can be traversed by a big chunk of the character roster for both sides. Even a Reinhardt can charge over this gap from the defensive side, and less mobile characters like 76 and Zarya can rocket jump with enough practice. This approach from an attacker's perspective opens up many possibilities. The straightforward side entrance to put pressure on defence, the upper level looking over the point and upper platforms to clear out entrenched defences, and the lower path for a more subtle approach to the point. All are great avenues for attack, and it's important to diversify between them.
The middle approach is through the courtyard. From here you can see windows above that grant access to the inner platform. This is most useful for someone like Hanzo rather than those that can fly. Once through the gate to the right of the main choke, there are steps down to the underside of the point, useful for breaking up the attacking line, and it's a much safer path of attack, with a big medpack if required. It's a small room though, so someone like Reinhardt or Junkrat will make your day hell if you linger there too long. Now for the right side of the approach. Following these steps up, you come to a small area with a medkit and a hallway leading to the stairs to the upper platform. This is a great way to get behind deployed defences on the point, assuming you're not facing a Junkrat spamming grenades down at you. From here, the point itself is easy to access, as well as stairs down to the defender's spawn. Very useful for flankers to ruin a deployed Bastion's day, or pick off a cowering healer. Some of the best game-changing McCree ultimates we've ever seen have been done from this platform.
To finish up, here's a quick overview of all the medkits provided by our friends over at Overwatch Central. You can find a high resolution version of these in the description below.
Thanks for watching this episode of Feel at Home. Next up, we'll be taking you through Watchpoint Gibraltar. As always, if you like this episode, please hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. You can check out our other content by clicking on one of the boxes on screen, and until next time, I've been Dante.
And I've been Kers.
Thanks for watching.